Verstappen. Hello. We're back. We're back very swiftly. I haven't even set up the stream. Bit of a rush. Had to pick up my girlfriend from work at 10 o'clock. We've got back though. We're there. We're ready. Let me just do this. How are we all doing? Hello, Liam, mate. Good day from Germany. Even though in Germany it's night. Yeah, very much night here too as well. 10:30 in the UK where I am at. Blooper, hello, boopy boop. How's it going? Qualifying, baby. Indeed, Alex. Sally in the chat, how's it going? Hey, from India. Thank you. Lofi, hello, mate. How's it going? Elijah in as well. How are we all doing? Let me just very swiftly make sure that my stream is up. Competitions, F1. Let's go to the TV guide, sport. And quickly shuffle this over as well. Afternoon in Florida. Ooh, is that Glock? What a random reference to kind of throw in. It's not. No, Timo Glock has. When did Timo Glock retire from Formula One? That's got to be a good chunk of time ago. Oh, I forgot to click stream it. Probably hear my phone playing an advert for Sky Sports main event. In America, like the enemy. I mean, you only have to do it a couple of times a year, don't you? 3 American Grand Prix, Mexico, Brazil, probably as well. You know, there's still the majority of races are happening in Europe. Yeah, it's kind of moving to the Middle East as well, really, isn't it? Formula One is becoming a little bit more global. Got like the French Grand Prix dropping out, German Grand Prix no more as well. Start to go further afield a touch. If you look at the races that have been added in recent years, Miami, Vegas, Qatar, Saudi, kind of going a little bit further afield. Even from Germany, Poland as well in the chat. Absolutely knackered. Tried a 30-minute nap. Oh no, you shouldn't nap. I've always found that napping makes me more tired for the rest of the day. Don't know whether that's like a science. Never got on with a nap. Just puts me completely out of sync with what I'm supposed to be thinking, doing, having to do. Let's have a little look then. So we are here, a couple of hours after the sprint race. It was an exciting little sprint race as well, wasn't it? We can just have a little look at how it finished for the sprint. Max Verstappen took 8 points. And at top of the standings, Carlos Sainz had an absolutely belter of a sprint. After a little bit of a sketchy start from Carlos Sainz, he tried to go around the outside of his teammate and Lando Norris at turn 1 right at the beginning. Didn't manage to make it happen, but then just really got into his groove, the Spaniard. Was putting Charles Leclerc under a lot of pressure early on. Managed to get the move done eventually. I think 2-3 tries. Charles Leclerc put in some good defensive maneuvers as well. And then once he was in front of his teammate, just started rattling through the field. Disappeared in front of George Russell. Forced Lando Norris into a mistake on the final lap. Carlos Sainz absolutely flying in COTA during the sprint race. More to come, I really hope so, in the Grand Prix tomorrow from Carlos, because this is a track that really does suit him down to the ground. Lando Norris, a disappointing 3rd place. He was not very happy with himself, with the car, with the general vibe of the weekend. After an insane start, Gunther Steiner kind of hinted at the fact that Lando Norris's starts in sort of multiple races this year haven't been what they'd want it to be. And yet, he said, well, this start was probably the best of the season. I agree. I think this was the best start of a Grand Prix, or of a race, I guess, from Lando Norris over the course of the season. Managed to jump in front of Leclerc, jumped in front of Russell in 1-2 corners. Looked like he was going to be battling with Max Verstappen, but Lando Norris just didn't have the pace. And in the end, those tyres fell away from him. Tiny little mistake into turn 1 on the final lap of the sprint under pressure from Carlos Sainz with DRS. And that was it. Lando Norris dropping it down to 3rd. Charles Leclerc, again, also a little bit frustrated. I think he was, maybe expecting Carlos Sainz to be a little bit nicer to him. I don't know why, because Carlos Sainz obviously leaving the team at the end of the season. definitely wasn't happening. And I don't know, just Charles Leclerc a little bit off of it. Probably should have done a little bit better. Charles Leclerc dropped down to 4th place, didn't finish as high as his teammate, even though he started in front of him. George Russell, absolutely nowhere in terms of pace during the sprint. Really, really poor show from Mercedes. It does make you wonder, if they can't change anything, which they can only make marginal changes anyway, but if they can't find something between now and the actual qualifying, well, between the sprint race and qualifying, it does feel like Mercedes are going to be clearly the 4th fastest car out on track by a considerable margin come the Grand Prix, because George Russell, absolutely nowhere. And Lewis Hamilton, he started to make moves towards the end. They started talking about the fight between Hamilton and Russell, never really materialized, as Lewis Hamilton moved from 7th to 6th, just moving in front of the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. So lots of work to do for George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg, though, absolutely flying. Best of the rest by a considerable margin. Magnussen finishes in front of Hülkenberg, 7th, 8th, 3 points on the board for Haas. We'll have a look what that does to the championship standings in a second, but it is good news for Haas fans. And just amazing to see them, get this Toyota deal over the line, come to Austin a year on from that quite tragic Austin Grand Prix from them last year. It was just like, they were hyping it up, the biggest upgrade we're ever going to bring to a Formula One. The Haas car is going to be back amongst it. It's going to be fighting in the midfield. And then it was just nothing, really, wasn't it, at the end of last season? Magnussen just couldn't really gain much from the car. Hülkenberg, to say it just didn't really happen for them in 2023. Now, though, 2024, Haas are a real force to be reckoned with at the moment. They seem really, really solid. And I know that obviously, if all the teams perform to where they should, and if all the teams kind of get everything together, I do still think Haas are in and around the slowest on the grid. Like, I do think, if Williams had a better start to the season, if RB had continued from last year, instead of having a little bit of a dip, sort of Yuki Tsunoda post Monaco has fallen off a cliff, really, in comparison to the form he started the year with. You look at the likes of Aston Martin also having a bit of a terrible middle of the season. Alonso, Stroll, sort of nowhere today. I feel like, they're teams that should be quicker than Haas, but Haas are there. And you're like, yeah, should be quicker than Haas, but aren't quicker than Haas. And they will take that all the way to the bank. Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg slotting in there. Sergio Perez and Oscar Piastri finishing just behind. Again, you'd kind of expect them to be filling in the Magnussen-Hülkenberg gap in the top 8, but considering where they started, probably a little bit disappointing for Sergio Perez. Like, he did only start in 11th place and then he moved up 2 spots to 9th. Did really struggle, though, Sergio Perez. Had some tough battles with Yuki Tsunoda in the sprint. Tough battles with Colapinto in the sprint as well. Like, it was really, really making hard work of getting through the field was Sergio Perez. Whereas Oscar Piastri, a little bit better, was kind of making his way through the field a little bit better than Perez, but also was making his way through the field by pushing Pierre Gasly wide and picking up a 5-second penalty and, nearly colliding with Colapinto. Like, it wasn't the cleanest of races from Oscar Piastri, but kind of showed a little bit of that tenacity, moving from 16th up to 10th. Would have been points if it was a race, but only a sprint, so nothing doing for that. Yuki Tsunoda tried his absolute best. Yuki Tsunoda put everything into that sprint race. Was great to watch. Like, if there's an onboard that's worth watching, probably Yuki Tsunoda. It's either Carlos Sainz's or Yuki Tsunoda's. They were the two probably most entertaining cars out on track during the sprint race for me. And yeah, boop, boop, Yuki was absolutely great. And it's just a shame, really, that the RB car just wasn't quite there. He was trying his best to put in a defensive performance, put some lunging moves in, but unfortunately ended up in 11th place anyway. Colapinto also dropping backwards. And when you look at the fact that, Tsunoda and Colapinto lost out to Perez and Piastri, it's fair, isn't it? It's fair enough. They are not in the same league in terms of the cars that they are in at this moment in time. Lance Stroll ended up coming in 13th, started where he finished. Gasly, similar. 14th place. Esteban Ocon 15th after making a couple of moves. Liam Lawson was a little bit dead and buried. Got told off a couple of times by Fernando Alonso. Didn't really achieve much. Similar with Alex Albon. Started from the pit lane. Got himself ahead of Bottas and Joe. And then just kind of cruised around. I think Fernando Alonso just kind of gave up, to be honest. He'd had enough by that point. He was battling with the RB of Liam Lawson. Not having a very fun time of it. Was just like, that's it. I'm done. I'm going. As we know, Fernando Alonso is literally racing for nothing at the minute. He is always going to finish in 9th place in the championship standings, and Aston Martin are always going to finish in 5th in the Constructors. So there is not a lot to race for Fernando Alonso right now. And that Stakes Sauber car, still absolutely nowhere. 19th and 20th for Bottas and Joe. They tried a couple of different things. Didn't happen, didn't make any difference, and unfortunately, all done and dusted. Sad if McLaren isn't up the top next year. I think next year is looking like the most competitive Formula One season we've seen in ages. I genuinely feel like it could be Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren all in the mix. Mercedes on their day are also right up there as well. I feel like Mercedes are maybe the least likely of the four to properly put in a title battle sort of charge in comparison to McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull. I mean, you just look at the constructor standards and that'll tell you that, right? But it's just the fact that they just seem a little bit hit and miss, Mercedes, in terms of this season. They had like that 4-race stint before the summer break, Silverstone, where they picked up the victory for Hamilton. Obviously, the disqualification for Russell in Belgium changed the complexion of the season a little bit, but Hamilton still won that race as well. Like they had that run of races where they were really, really competitive. And we were hoping that would continue after the summer break for Mercedes as well, but it just kind of hasn't. They still seem very uncomfortable in the car that they're in right now. In terms of the championship, oh dear, I haven't updated it. I forgot. I went to Morrison's. I forgot to update it. It's fine. I've got a backup. Bang. This is why we have multi-viewer. Multi-viewer doing the work for us. Beautiful, beautiful multi-viewer men. Let's pop that. Something like this. Oh, that'll do. The championship standings as it was post the sprint race. McLaren picking up 6 points. They elongate their lead 522 points to McLaren. Red Bull close in a touch, 2 points, 483 for them. 12 points for Ferrari, though. Continue to gain on the Red Bull team. They're now only 30 points adrift of Red Bull. Sergio Perez really not helping the Red Bull team out in terms of the constructors. Mercedes gained 7 points, but again, Mercedes kind of in a bit of a no man's land now. 100-odd points behind Ferrari. It's not going to change, is it? Mercedes are going to come home in 4th. As I said, Aston Martin in a complete no man's land. But the talking point, those boys there, the Haas men, have done it once again. Haas are now in 6th place in the constructor standings. Everybody who I talked to, everybody's videos, everyone had Haas coming 10th this season. The fact that they have come, haven't come 6th. The fact that they are 6th, and at the moment, if the season ended now, would finish in 6th place is astounding to me. Absolutely astounding. They've done so well, that Haas team. RB, because of that, obviously dropped down a position. That's why Yuki Tsunoda was trying so hard to sort of keep hold of that championship position for the team because he's done so well over the course of the season. He's 12th in the standings as Yuki Tsunoda. He's tried so hard to keep RB in it, but Nico Hulkenberg just stretching away from him now in the driver's standings, and Magnussen picking up more points compared to, you're looking at your Daniel Ricciardo's. And it's starting to look a little bit sketchy. We've got Williams down in 8th place still. No points for them. Alpine, no points. And Kick Sauber as well. No points. So they stay 8th, 9th, and 10th. No points for Kick Sauber all season. Looking at the driver standings, obviously Max Verstappen gains another 2 points on Lando Norris in the battle for the championship. He picked up 8, where Norris picked up 6. Charles Leclerc picked up 5 points, elongating his lead over Oscar Piastri. I think that battle is the exciting one, to be honest with you. But we're looking at Piastri needs to get some points back on the board in Austin, because I do think there's a few races coming up where the Ferrari car is going to be very, very quick. Hamilton picked up 3 points. Russell picked up 4. So it's still very, very tight between the two Mercedes cars as well. As I said, that disqualification from George Russell in Belgium just completely changes the complexion of 6th and 7th place, doesn't it? George Russell has had the better season. Categorically, has had the better season. But Hamilton has just had those few races where he shone. And those few races, in terms of the points gained, have been massive. So Hamilton still leading George Russell 6 and 7. Sergio Perez, no points on the board. So falls further adrift in 8th spot. And as I said, not really helping out Red Bull when it comes to keeping 2nd spot ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors. Fernando Alonso in 9th place. He is just guaranteed to be there. 62 points for Fernando. Miles ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, who now puts himself 10th spot by a point. Puts himself above Lance Stroll, properly on points, no longer equal with the Canadian man. 1 point the gap. 11th place, Lance Stroll now in the championship. Yuki Tsunoda is in 12th on 22 points. Then a big jump again, 10 points to Alex Albon below. Kevin Magnussen picked up 2 points. He moves himself above Pierre Gasly up into 15th spot. And he moves himself above Ollie Behrman as well. Then we've got Pierre Gasly down in 16th now. Ocon 18th. Colapinto 19th. Zhou Guanyu and Bottas down at the bottom there. Of course, Liam Lawson joining the pack, but not yet having completed a Grand Prix, so we'll join the ranks there. And Daniel Ricciardo and Ollie Behrman, no more points coming for them this season. So they are locked in where they are. And there goes the championship as the live timings are being reset as we go into qualifying in 11 minutes time. 3 a.m. in India. Goodness gracious me. I reckon Lando's done for the championship this year. Tried his best. Probably won't work out for him. I feel like we have to wait until the race. We have to wait until the race. If Lando Norris, loses 10 points to Max Verstappen in this race, yep, it's done. But we have to wait until the race. 2 points in the sprint race isn't the nail in the coffin, I don't think. Of course, I've been kind of playing down the whole Lando Norris championship battle thing the whole season. I think the McLaren just haven't been organizationally and analytically good enough in every single race. And I think the championship won't be lost by Lando in these last 6 races. It was lost when they made mistakes in Canada, they made mistakes in Silverstone, they made mistakes in Hungary. Like, there was a few different times over the course of the season where they lost Lando Norris points by just errors in terms of pit stops and errors in terms of strategy. And obviously, we all talk about the papaya rules and Piastri versus Norris. But again, I think it's really McLaren who have thrown away points over the course of the season. And that'll be the difference. Who's better? Prost, Senna, Hunt, Hamilton, Verstappen, or Lauda? What a question. Of those, I mean, Senna is like every Formula One racer's favorite driver is always Senna. Or Schumacher, to be fair. Alex Albon absolutely loves Michael Schumacher. But generally speaking, you ask basically any driver on the grid who their favorite driver was growing up, and it's Senna. So maybe that should be a good indication of how good these drivers are. F2 car is better than F1 car. Not sure about that. It's a shame that F2 has such a long break now, though, isn't it? So stupid. Bro is in tomorrow. Why Singapore track on the wall? Just my favorite track. Midnight Gang. Yeah, it's getting... Well, I'm going to finish here at midnight, but bedtime was like 2 hours ago. Still standing. Good little Elton John reference in there as well. Only true fans are here right now. I think it's just time zone differences. I like these races because we do get different people in the chat. Not that I don't, I love the diehards that are here every single week, but it's nice to get to know different members of the community by the fact that they just are able to watch different races. You got your dieharders, you guys who are still watching even though it's 3 a.m. and I absolutely support it. But people who are kind of only drop in and only watch the races when it is a reasonable time for them, which is perfectly reasonable. You know, you're working a full-time job or you got other bits and pieces going on. I know a few people who are like long-time subscribers to the channel who have, you know, got young families now, and it's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. If you can't join every single live stream because you've got to look after a child, for instance, you know, things do happen, things do change. And there you go, see, Blackbird never watched a race live, only through YouTube. Well, oh wait, I thought you meant never watched my live stream. But the case stands. And then you got Ryan's Legos getting up, having his cornflakes. 1:51 a.m. Goodness gracious me. Ooh, nice. 2 a.m. though, the builder. Oh. Barbados. This is amazing. See, this is where I should, like, you know, reach out to people in the community and be like, you know what, guys? I'm going on holiday. Has anyone got a spare room? I'm heading down to Brighton in a couple of weeks' time, and I was booking the hotel earlier on. And I was like, maybe someone's just got a room that they wouldn't mind, you know, lending to me for a night. That'd be nice. But no, paid for a. Here we go. 5 minutes left to go. Let me just get a couple of bits set up for us. Sprint weekend is fully underway now. Sprint out of the way. Qualifying. This is what we're here for. The main event of the weekend. Qualifying into the Grand Prix. It's looking tasty. Feel like Charles Leclerc is going to be in the mix. Sainz, Verstappen. Norris, I feel like, will have a little bit of the bit between his teeth, won't he? He'll want to put something right this weekend. We saw how close it was in the midfield as well. We had Colapinto, both of the Hasses, and Sonoda through to Q3 yesterday for the sprint. Are we going to have a similar kind of thing where we have maybe some of the big boys drop out because of track limits? It's always a thing here in Austin. That turn 19-20 is very, very difficult to get right. And because it's such a long circuit, it's just, you don't get very many laps, you know. If it was Austria, you get another couple of qualifying laps over the course of the qualifying session. But here in Austin, it's a long lap. It's a bit like Spa as well in Belgium. You just don't get as many laps in. And if you make a mistake on your banker, and then you, well, as we saw with Oscar Piastri, you make a mistake on your banker, then you run wide and you get track limits infringement on your second lap, you can very quickly run out of room in this weekend. Thank you, Alex Kim, for subscribing to the channel. We're on our way to 110,000 subscribers. Although we did get quite a, we got quite a peak. We sort of hit 90,000 subscribers. And then I think people are like, right, now he's on 90,000. He deserves the subscribe to get you up to 100. Because that last 10,000 was much, much quicker than any of the other 10,000s we'd had before. So I feel like now, because we've hit the 100,000, people are like, oh, he's only on 105. It's not like he's close to a milestone, but that is not the case. Do hit the subscribe button. It massively helps me out in more ways than you would ever imagine. We are trying to move the channel so that I could maybe go full-time in the future, putting things in place so that I can offer you guys more and more content over the course of every single Grand Prix weekend. We already put out long-form videos once a week, short-form videos on every other day that I can. It's there. Live streams every single Grand Prix weekend for sprint qualifying, sprint races, qualifying itself, and the Grand Prix, plus a podcast coming out. Big guest this weekend for the Austin Grand Prix review podcast that will be out probably Monday morning before I go to work. Toyota power reflects in Haas. I mean, Toyota haven't actually done anything yet. They've just put a sticker on the car, but it helped. It definitely helped. They managed to get the points that they needed, and they put themselves up a place in the constructor standings. Take it. Here we go then. Let's see if we've got any cars. The podcast is brand new. It's something that I was working on over the second autumn break. So because we hit 100,000 subscribers, I wanted to do something to, show that the channel is still growing, the channel is still moving in the right direction, even though we've hit 100,000, and decided to kind of put my efforts into something a little bit longer form. So I used to do live streams post race, but they were always really tricky to do, and they were always kind of tricky to set up because I didn't want to react too quickly after the race, because sometimes you get disqualifications, bits and pieces like that. So it's kind of changed around a touch in terms of those post-race live streams, and instead going to be a weekly kind of podcast. Taking inspiration from kind of James Lawrence Alcott's Ripple Effect, Mr. V also in his chair, but I'd like to get guests on and kind of talk about the race and do it in my own way, which we have been doing also, but it's kind of rebranding it. And it's called the Turn-In Point. Turn in, like turning, but turn in point. But it's not there yet. A Hawk Tour girl is waving the checkered flag. Is that really? Wow. Interesting. I hadn't seen that, but I'll keep an eye out for it a little bit later on. What's my take on Alex Albon's season so far? Bad. Okay. Great. Yeah, okay. What an opportunity. Yeah, it's weird how viral that woman has gone. I don't know her name. I'm really sorry. I mean, neither does the chat by the looks of things, because they've called her Hawk Tour girl. A sad, not really there. But it's weird how viral that... I guess she's just jumped on the opportunity, right? And maybe she'll disappear. But I don't know. She doesn't feel like she's going to go away. Usually those things go super viral for like 3-4 weeks, and it's kind of done, isn't it? They're like, oh, okay, they're really super famous for a week, and then they kind of disappear into obscurity again. But no, she seems to be here to stay. She's like got merch lines, as you say, a podcast. She's waving checkered flags at Formula One races. Like, I think she's like done what many can't, and has just absolutely nailed the going viral and then actually turning it into a career, which is insane. I mean, fantastic for her. Absolutely fantastic. Imagine going out, right? You go out on a night out, you get interviewed on a random TikToker, just one of those lads that is just standing in the middle of a street hoping for a viral moment. You get one of those. You say, Hack Tour, spit on that thing, and now your life has completely changed. You're a millionaire. You've got a podcast. Like, everyone wants to sponsor you. You've got brand deals coming out. Craziness. You're getting paid to go to events. Imagine her life. That is insane. Absolutely mental. Just goes to show that literally 5 minutes can change your life dramatically if it's the right 5 minutes and you're in the right place at the right time. But anyway, shall we get into qualifying? Don't know how we got there. Qualifying is almost underway. 1 minute to go till we get underway. 18 minutes on the clock for qualifying 1 here. We need to have some uncomfortable conversations about Albon. Do you think so? I don't think so. I don't think he's had, I think Colapinto's just driving in a way that he's driving with so much more freedom than Alex Albon, isn't he? Colapinto knows he's not coming back next year. Colapinto knows where it's at. The real test for Alex Albon is next year and Carlos Sainz. Also, just Alex Albon's just had a couple of tough weekends. It does happen. It does happen. I don't think we're there yet. If Colapinto outscores Alex Albon for like another few races in a row, maybe. But it's only been a couple. He outdid him in Singapore, and then outdid him here in the sprint. I thought Lawson would click in like Colapinto. Right on the ass of Albon's car. Colapinto, yeah, it's been amazing. But is driving with a very different mindset to the rest of the field. I think that's the thing. You've got to remember that these Formula One drivers are human beings, and they do succumb to pressure. They do, have thoughts of their own. They're not superhuman. Alex Albon, talking of him, is going to be the first man out on track here in qualifying. Zhou Guanyu following it out. The two orange Alpines. I will never, never forgive them for this. Gasly and Ocon making their way to the end of the pit lane as well. That's Valtteri Bottas just behind them. And already quite the queue in the pit lane. I think drivers wanted to get out there, get their banker lap in. Because we did see, with Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez, it can go south pretty quickly if you don't get yourself a good banker lap in pretty swiftly. Fernando Alonso trying to get some overtakes going already. And I think after being a little bit frustrated with Liam Lawson in the sprint race earlier on, Fernando Alonso now getting his overtake done. Gets the overtake over. Oh yeah, sorry, the trackboard. I completely forgot that we weren't on the right screen. Here we go. Albon, Zhou, Gasly, Ocon, the first four drivers, as I said. Bottas, Alonso in front of Lawson. And you can see Alonso just getting ahead of Lawson. Tsunoda just behind. Lando Norris also having a little tete-a-tete. Is that Colapinto? Trying to get past Lando Norris's McLaren? I think so. Just through turn 8, Colapinto moves in front of the McLaren. Carlos Sainz, the man of the moment in the sprint race, moves up and into the field. Charles Leclerc behind. Lance Stroll. Oscar Piastri has also just left the end of the pit lane. Liam Lawson very much not happy with Fernando Alonso, but Fernando Alonso getting the mind games going, isn't he? Fernando Alonso making Liam Lawson's afternoon just that little bit harder. That seems harsh from Fernando. Like, he's still young as Liam Lawson, bless him. Fernando Alonso in his 40s. Does he really have to be that petty about an incident that was, in a sprint race where they were battling for P15, I think it was at the time. P16. Not sure. Thought Sauber don't participate in quali. No, they get involved, Get out there. Petition for Matt to wave the flag. Which Matt? Yeah, who's Matt? As in Matt from P1? They're out there this weekend, aren't they? What do I think to Liam Lawson's first Grand Prix? Well, I mean, this is 6th Grand Prix, really, isn't it? We had 5 Grand Prix of him last year, but he was very, very impressive, hence getting himself this role. But it's going to be a bit of a weird one because he's going to be starting from the back of the grid anyway because he's taking engine penalties. So Liam Lawson just kind of along for the ride in this one. And Alex Albon aborts his fast lap and comes into the pits. So maybe doesn't want to have that lap because it wasn't the cleanest of them. Zhou Guanyu then is the first driver actually to come across the line and set a lap time. It's a 1:35.4 from the Chinese driver. Lando Norris just coming around in the McLaren. Carlos Sainz gone quickest of anybody so far through the first sector. Fernando Alonso fastest overall with a 1:34.4. Bottas, Ocon, Zhou, Gasly, the 5 drivers that have come across the start-finish line so far. Alonso, interestingly, on a used set of soft compound tyres. Lando Norris, quickest of anybody through the middle sector so far. Carlos Sainz can't match the McLaren. Charles Leclerc not fastest in either the first or second sector, but not a shabby lap from Charles Leclerc either. Lando Norris sets the standard for the front runners of a 1:34.0. Here comes Carlos Sainz then. He was quicker than Lando Norris through the middle sector, but not quickest through... Sorry, he's quicker than Lando Norris through the first sector, but not quickest overall. just a 1/10 of a second off. Charles Leclerc comes in. It's not a vintage lap from Charles Leclerc. 8/10 off the pace. Only puts him 5th fastest behind Alonso and Bottas. Piastri now comes across the line to put his banker lap in as he learned from his mistakes. Looks like it. Couple attempts off Lando Norris's time. White flag waved just to warn him of a slow-moving car. I think that's Alex Albon coming back out of the pits. No, it's Colapinto. Sorry, it's Colapinto coming out of the pits. Oh, and Pierre Gasly. A little bit of a slide there through turn 1. Kept it within the lines, though. The lap will still count. Just lose a couple of attempts in there. The Alpine car is bouncing around like crazy through the S's as well. Just showing a replay of Gasly's opening sector. We also see Max Verstappen start his first flying sector as well. Lando Norris still quickest overall. Charles Leclerc's lap time deleted. So will not stand. Charles Leclerc will have to go again. So it's Norris, Sainz, Piastri, the top 3 right now. Fernando Alonso's made his way back to the pits in 4th spot. And Verstappen quickest through the first sector by a considerable margin as well. 25.1 from Max Verstappen. He is on a tear here in Austin in that Red Bull car. The newly designed Red Bull floor on that car. Max Verstappen seems to be in his groove again. He won the sprint race pretty comfortably. He was never really gone, was he? Did so well to damage or to limit the damages over the course of the season when the Red Bull wasn't there, and now is 0.5 of a second quicker than Lando Norris through that middle sector. Is he on a fresh set of tyres? No, Verstappen is also on a scrub set of softs as well. So this is just pure pace from the Red Bull car. Giving us flashbacks to the beginning of the season now, Max Verstappen. And the rest of the crowd are going to have to try and find a few tenths to keep up with him. I want to see prime aggressive Kevin Magnussen before he retires. That'd be nice. Max Verstappen fastest. Good chunk. Just a little bit in the final sector though, did Max Verstappen. Was 5 quicker than Lando Norris after having come through the middle sector. Sergio Perez matches Lando Norris's lap time exactly. 134.029. The Mexican goes 3rd because Lando Norris set the lap time 1st. Leclerc, Russell, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Lawson, Albon, Stroll, Colapinto yet to set lap times as it stands in Q1 here. Few drivers coming into the pits just to shuffle around. We are seeing a few more drivers out on track though. Russell and Hamilton finally joining the crowd. So we'll see what the Mercedes car has. Yeah, Max did indeed win the sprint and is now looking very comfortable as well in qualifying. The very swift opening lap from Max Verstappen on a scrubbed set of softs. And the Red Bull looks like it has fixed some of its issues. Max maybe back to the last 6 Grand Prix of the season. Just reminded us that he is winning the World Championship on his terms. George Russell through the first sector. A green first sector from him in his first one. 0.3 adrift of Max Verstappen as he completes the second sector, though. How about Lewis Hamilton? Can he get any closer to Max Verstappen's time? Not at all. He's a second off. The Dutchman's lap time is Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes car's not looking overly happy right now. Nico Hulkenberg puts himself amongst it. Would you ever reckon that Nico Hulkenberg wouldn't? Puts himself 2nd fastest overall. Couple attempts adrift of Verstappen. Colapinto and Albon have also put themselves 5th and 6th. Kevin Magnussen's jumped up into 8th. George Russell only good enough for 10th spot. Of course, we are only looking for our bottom 5 here during Q1 in Austin. Those 5 will then be out of qualifying and no longer able to take part. They'll be locked into 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th place at the back of the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. Is the RB20 without a livery weight reduction? Yeah, the Red Bull team completely cancelled all of their special liveries. They were supposed to have a special livery in Singapore as well. They cancelled that. And they also cancelled their special livery for Austin to focus on performance. And as you say, weight reduction indeed. Pierre Gasly jumps to the top of the timing sheets with a 133.5. And it just maybe goes to show that the track is evolving a little bit. Because you wouldn't expect an Alpine to be towards the top of the timing sheets. Ocon also right up there in 6th place. Lawson and Tsunoda, both of the RBs going 4th and 5th, although Tsunoda's lap time is deleted for track limits. Tsunoda's lap time, track limits infringements. Let's see. Who else has got track limit infringements at the moment? So Tsunoda's had both laps delete. 2 track limits infringements. Yuki Tsunoda. Gasly had a lap time deleted. Leclerc and Zhou as well. All of those drivers have had track limits infringements so far. Mercedes being bullied. I know. Russell and Hamilton down in 16th and 17th place. Leclerc and Tsunoda yet to have a legitimate lap time on the board. Toyota stickers doing wonders. And Josh in the... Hello, Josh, mate. Just realised your name pop up. Track is ramping up like crazy. Yeah, it seems like it, doesn't it? Everybody who's coming across the line is just going quicker and quicker. Well, unless you're in a silver car, that is. They are not looking very swift at all. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, the 2 Ferraris, setting fast laps right now. Just watching Carlos Sainz come down towards turn 12, where he made some solid overtaking maneuvers earlier today. Can he hook up a lap time? Maybe starting a little bit closer to the front, and we'll see Carlos Sainz fighting for the victory here in Austin. One last win, maybe, for the Spaniard before he leaves Ferrari at the end of the season. Although he has just been outdone by his teammate Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc goes quickest through the middle sector and is looking the quicker of the 2 Ferraris right now. Oscar Piastri is improving, but is still a couple attempts adrift of Pierre Gasly's time through the middle sector. Needs to improve. Currently 14th fastest is Oscar Piastri. He's already been out in Q1 once this weekend. Won't want to do it again. Sainz doesn't manage to go quicker than Gasly there. But Charles Leclerc massively does. Leclerc 3/10 quicker than Pierre Gasly and jumps to the top of the timing sheets. So it's just Yuki Tsunoda yet to set a lap time. Valtteri Bottas, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, and Zhou Guanyu need to improve. All 4 of those cars still in the pit lane as it stands. Charles Leclerc quickest. Oscar Piastri jumps up to 7th fastest. 7 tenths adrift, though, of Charles Leclerc's lap time. It's not vintage from Piastri. What can Lando Norris do? And Norris goes 4th fastest behind the Ferraris and Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly might have just hooked together one of the laps of the weekend. Quali order looking very mixed. I think it's just because the track is still ramping up very swiftly. I do think we're going to end up with some weird qualifying, to be fair. Yuki Tsunoda had another lap time deleted. Tsunoda there. You can see just crosses the white line through turn 12. Yep, it's marginal. It's very marginal indeed, but he does cross the white line. So Yuki Tsunoda. Track limits infringement. Lap time deleted. As I said, we're looking for those bottom 5 right now. 16th through 20th will not make it through to Q2. So at the moment, we've got Bottas, Russell, Hamilton, Zhou, and Tsunoda are 5 drivers that will not make it through. Ooh, and a little bit of bodywork possibly coming off the Ferrari there as it went through turn 12. Keep you updated on that. Genuinely wise kicker team. They're becoming Audi soon. I feel like they're just in this weird limbo where nobody cares. like Audi don't really care what's happening right now. They're focused on 2026. They're focused on their engine program and getting their aero sorted. Once January will roll around, and they'll be able to start the 2026 aero regulations as well. So they're just focused on that, right? Audi are just focused on that. Sauber and Kick, like they just know that they are going to have to succumb to Audi in a couple of years' time anyway. So they're not really bothered about it. They're just doing it for the sake of having the sponsor for a couple of years. Like, it's very much a team in limbo. And when you have a team in limbo like this, it just doesn't really work when it comes to, you know, being quick in Formula One. You have to be dedicated. You have to be working. You have to improve every single weekend. You know, we see how much these cars get faster and faster over the course of a season. And when you're not developing in that rate, you just get left behind by a long, long way. And that's what's happened to Kick Sauber. They've just been left behind. They're probably as fast as they were in Bahrain, but that is no longer good enough. It's just falling away from where they have been. Gaps are compared to pre-2021. The gaps are so small. The cost cap, as much as people were slightly against it, and you know the teams were like, not really sure about the cost cap. I think the cost cap has been one of the best things that Formula One has introduced. It has just completely decreased the margin, and it's made it so that, you know, teams like Mercedes can't just brute force things. So like Toto Wolff was talking about how 2023, in previous iterations, the Mercedes team would have just brought a brand new bodywork and a brand new floor as soon as possible. They can't brute force that anymore because they can't just, you know, make 1,000 parts for their car and pick the best one. They have to be precise. They have to be particular. They have to spend their money wisely. And it does allow teams the opportunity to really close the gap. Max Verstappen goes quickest once again, a 1 minute 33 dead from Verstappen, puts himself a couple of attempts quicker than Leclerc. George Russell is improving for Mercedes, needs to improve to get himself out of the bottom 5, sorry. And he does, gets up into third spot, George Russell. Yeah, Gasly still 4th fastest overall right now. Hamilton 16th fastest. That is not good enough from Lewis Hamilton. I don't think he's going to have another lap, is he? No. Hamilton's not going to make it. That is going to be out. Hamilton is out of qualifying. I just had a feeling there was going to be a big scalp once again in Q1. And Lewis Hamilton is the man. Fernando Alonso, also 17th at the moment. Kevin Magnussen, the man under pressure. Magnussen is on an outlap, though. Alex Albon comes across the line to only go 12th fastest. Yuki Tsunoda is finally going to get a lap time on the board by the looks of things, as long as he can get through the final sector unscathed. Tsunoda just coming through. Tsunoda needing to get quicker than Kevin Magnussen. A couple of cars getting out of his way as they come through the final corner. Tsunoda across the line, goes 7th fastest, and you'd hope that'll be good enough for Yuki in that one. Fernando Alonso wrestling with the Aston Martin car through the final sector. The checkered flag has dropped. Liam Lawson comes across the line just before it with a 133.3. Liam Lawson take a bow. 3/10 off Max Verstappen. A very swift lap from Liam Lawson there. Fernando Alonso, though, coming around the final couple of corners. 18th fastest right now. Needs to improve his time. Can he knock his teammate out? Puts Lance Stroll into the bottom 5. Fernando Alonso goes 10th fastest. Colapinto, now the driver under pressure. Zhou Guanyu comes across the line, only 19th quickest, so he's going to be out. So Hamilton and Zhou are out of qualifying. Lance Stroll. Is Lance Stroll on a lap? Just coming down towards turn 12 is Lance Stroll. Kevin Magnussen also is just coming around the middle sector. Oscar Piastri comes across the line. 10th fastest for Piastri. Good enough for now. Only just good enough for Q3. When it comes to Q2, Kevin Magnussen hasn't improved through the first sector, though. Just looking at the sector timings, Lance Stroll is at a pretty poor middle sector. So it might be Magnussen and Stroll out of this one. Bottas comes across the line, not good enough. Magnussen, though, improves enough through the second and third sectors. Gets himself up there. It's going to be Colapinto, and Alex Albon has dropped out now. Lance Stroll goes 15th fastest. Sergio Perez saves himself and goes 9th quickest. And Alex Albon has dropped into that bottom 5. So it is Albon, Colapinto, Bottas, Hamilton, and Zhou. Both Williamses out in qualifying 1. That is very, very unfortunate for them. Toyota sticker, flexi wing. Toyota stickers massively helping. Where will Haas be with Toyota's help 2025, 2026? They'll be like in the mix with, to be fair, they are still overperforming. I know that we're looking at Haas right now. Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hulkenberg, 7th and 8th again. I want to stress though, Haas as a team, they're still by far and away the smallest team. They've still got by far and away the smallest budget. They are overperforming this season. They are doing a better job with smaller facilities. I feel like Toyota coming in, and that was Colapinto got really out of shape there. I feel like Toyota coming in puts Haas on a level, playing field, with Williams, RB, Stake Sauber for now. Like, it puts them on an actual level playing field with those teams. Whereas at the moment, Haas is not on a level playing field with them. It's just outperforming them through pure brute force. And the fact that, teams like Alpine, Williams had a really poor start to the season and have massively underperformed. Like, you look at it, really, Alpine should be nowhere near where they are in the championship. Same with RB to an extent. The connections that they have with Red Bull, I suppose you're expecting them to be a midfieldy team, but they should be clear of Haas by a considerable margin. But Toyota coming in kind of elevates Haas to then on a level playing field with Williams, RB, Stake Sauber, in my opinion. And that means, if they continue to overperform, maybe that puts them in the battle with Aston Martin. Like, if they continue to overperform the teams that they're on a level playing field with, maybe they jump up. I think it's great. I'm absolutely loving Haas right now. I just think that they've been so fun to watch this season. Watching from Australia, Piastri. Piastri's through, but he was only 12th fastest. The big Haas stickers for Toyota ones increase the performance. More Toyota stickers, faster car. That's how it works. What am I using to see the radios? I'm using a multi-viewer, hence the little logo above the timing sheet. K-Mag is not out indeed. Did a little bit better. It was Alex Albon, Colapinto, Valtteri Bottas, Hamilton, and Joe that will start at the back of the pack. Watching from Ghana. That's cool. That's very cool. Lewis might be mailing it in for the rest of the season. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I just feel like he was on a really solid run, wasn't he? And the problem is he's kind of got that win. I feel like he wanted one more win with Mercedes. He got it in Silverstone of all places as well. Then was also handed a win in Belgium. Yeah, it does feel like there's a few drivers on the grid that could kind of just haven't had enough, right? Fernando Alonso could not race for the rest of the season and be perfectly happy. Hamilton could probably not race for the rest of the season, be perfectly happy. Ocon, probably not really too bothered in the Alpine right now. He's looking over at the Haas and going, bloody hell, they're doing well. They're doing very well indeed. I'm glad I'm going there. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Ocon's thinking right now. Whereas, you've got other drivers that they've still got a lot on the line. Sergio Perez is still trying to save his career. Carlos Sainz is his final races at Ferrari. He's trying to prove that he can be that man at a top team so that if a seat ever does come up, Carlos Sainz is still in the conversation for it, He doesn't want to drop back to Williams and never be in contention for a Red Bull seat, a Ferrari seat, a Mercedes seat if it comes up in the future either. You've got Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri still chasing that kind of win for McLaren and the Constructors. Lando Norris still chasing that win in the Drivers' Championship, as far adrift as that seems. Piastri's got a lot to fight for. Leclerc's got a lot to fight for. Leclerc wants to still show that he's like the main man at Ferrari until Lewis Hamilton gets there, and then he wants to still be the main man at Ferrari. But there are just a few drivers that definitely could sack it in for the rest of the season. And it would make no difference to their future or what's going to happen, to be honest. Imagine saying a move from Alpine to Haas was a very good for someone a few years ago. Yeah, that's very true. I don't know. Well, it depends how do you classify a few years? 2016, 2017, 2018, Haas were banging. Then it kind of fell downhill. Rich energy. Then they had, you know, Russian drivers. Yeah, it didn't go well for a stint, but they seem to have, you know, put the pieces back together again, really. And Gunther Steiner said recently he's been doing another kind of press tour for his new book, which I have not read yet. I read Gunther Steiner's first book. I haven't read his second book yet, but he has been kind of doing the rounds, and he even said he maybe overstayed his welcome at Haas for a season too long. So I think they did just need a little bit of a freshen up at Haas. And the fact that Ayaka Matsu's come in there this season seems to have given them a real buzz. And also, you know, again, it's too simplistic to say he's Japanese, therefore Toyota wanted to work with Haas. But it's definitely a benefit, isn't it? It's definitely something that has helped them secure that Toyota deal. The fact that he is the only Japanese team principal on the Formula One grid. So, just all looking good. It's all looking like it's going Haas's way in recent weeks, isn't it? Let's make NAF1 viral. I don't know how. I don't think you can really go super viral in the Formula One space. I feel like it's quite niche, isn't it? You know, you look at the Formula One sphere of YouTube. How many like Formula One creators are on like 1 million subscribers? Very few, if any. Right? There's 2 I can think of. That's it. Whereas you go a bit broader. I know a lot of football, so like there's a lot of football channels that are a lot bigger than Formula One channels and things like that. It's just Formula One's not quite there in its capacity to go super viral yet, I don't think. Hamilton out, yeah, just a poor lap from Lewis Hamilton, honestly. Like, slower than Valtteri Bottas. Need I say more, you know? Lando Norris coming out and leaving a big gap in the pits. Not really sure why. Just not wanting to sit under the rear wing of the car in front. Max Verstappen is at the back. Sorry, at the front of the pack. Lando Norris at the back of the pack. Verstappen, Perez, our first 2 drivers that are going to set fast laps here in Q2. Carlos Sainz coming around turn 11. Gasly and Leclerc also out on track 2. Liam Lawson just coming through the first sector. Lance Stroll's made his way through the first few corners. Esteban Ocon making his way through turn 1. Fernando Alonso is the next man to be coming out of the pit lane. Verstappen, though, wanting to be the first man out on track and the first man in the timing sheets. Not only at the start of the session, but the end of the session, he wouldn't mind it as well. Here he comes, Max Verstappen, up the hill towards turn 1. Huge elevation change for turn 1 here in Austin. Really is a challenge for the drivers. And then through the S's of turn 2, 3, 4, 5. Super high speed, left, right, left. And Max Verstappen making it look simple. Thank you, Darren Taylor, for subscribing to the channel. Lando Norris, Piastri also making their way onto the grid. George Russell, the sole Mercedes car. Final man out of the pits. And we now have all 15 drivers out on track. Verstappen, swift through the first sector, quicker than his teammate Sergio Perez, who was behind him. Max Verstappen finishes the second sector, a 1 minute 2.2 from Verstappen. Used set of soft compound tyres on Max Verstappen's car, though. So more to come as the session, progresses from Max Verstappen. Just coming around turn 19 through turn 20. And what Verstappen got to offer here in Austin sets the standard at a 133 dead. There you go, everybody else. What have you got? Sergio Perez is going to be the next man to set a fast lap time. And he's 4.5 tenths adrift of Max Verstappen. So not quite there. Lots of Mexican fans at the Austin Grand Prix, of course, making their way across the border. And then back again for the Mexican Grand Prix in a week's time. Nice to see Hamilton and Bottas together again. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that actually. Yeah, that was good. 18th and 19th. That tickled me. That did indeed tickle me. Charles Leclerc through the middle sector and coming around. Pierre Gasly goes second fastest again. Gasly is on one here in Austin qualifying. He's found a little bit of pace in that Alpine car between the sprint race and now. Charles Leclerc only fifth fastest and 9/10 adrift from Charles Leclerc. Not a good lap whatsoever. And Esteban Ocon has just gone the fastest through the middle sector of anybody. That purple second sector from Esteban Ocon there at 37.2. Lance Stroll goes fifth fastest. We have the drivers finishing off their first flying laps. Here comes Esteban Ocon. And Ocon 6/10 adrift. But he was the quickest man through the middle sector, Ocon. So, unfortunate. Yuki Tsunoda just coming down the back straight, maybe giving Liam Lawson a little bit of a tow. The two RBs working together. Verstappen makes his way into the pits as Fernando Alonso comes around the final corner. Fernando Alonso only good enough for sixth fastest ahead of his teammate. Still 7 drivers yet to set a lap time. It's going to be George Russell, the last man to set a flying lap, and then it will give us an idea of where everybody stands. Yuki Tsunoda, 5th fastest. Nico Hülkenberg comes across the line, a 1:33.3. Kevin Magnussen across the line, 1:33.6. So Magnussen and Hülkenberg go 5th and 6th fastest. Lando Norris was fastest of anybody through the middle sector and goes quicker than Verstappen, but it was a fresh set of soft compound tyres on the McLaren car. Here comes Oscar Piastri to set his first lap time. Goes slower than Max Verstappen. Oh, it's marginal though. It is 5 thousandths of a second slower than Max Verstappen and slots into 3rd spot. George Russell across the line at 1:33.1. Liam Lawson deciding to come back into the pits. And makes sense. Liam Lawson obviously taking the engine penalty, starting from the back of the grid anyway. I think was just sent out to give Yuki Tsunoda a tow. It did give Yuki Tsunoda just enough to put himself into the top 10 for now. So Liam Lawson is going to be effectively a guaranteed driver to drop out in this 5. Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, and Charles Leclerc, the other 4 drivers that currently would be dropping out of qualifying if it were to stay this way. 7 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in Q2. Looking at Lando Norris coming around at turn 12. Piastri and Russell also making their way back to the pits. Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Norris, Piastri, and Russell, the drivers out on track. More than enough time, though, for everybody to get back in, get themselves a fresh set of tyres, and come back out fighting once more. Thank you guys so much for watching, by the way. If we could hit the like button, that would be stunning. Maybe even hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 110,000 subscribers. We managed to get one of these over the course of the season. Very, very small on the screen right now, but deliciously big in real life, which is quite far away at the moment. Can't touch it, but I wish I could. All day, every day. Someone said Gasly snubbed the Toyota sticker. Gone. I mean, maybe she's got one on the inside of the car. That's what Gasly's done. He's found a Toyota sticker between the sprint and now, and he's put it on the inside of the car, inside the cockpit. Can't even see it. Ass mindset. Yeah, Liam Lawson has an engine penalty. You're right, Daybench. So he is going to start at the back of the pack anyway. So it was just giving Yuki Tsunoda a little bit of a tow. And now is come back into the pits without setting a full lap time. Going to put a Haas sticker on my Camry. No, you don't want a Haas sticker. You want a Toyota sticker. Toyota stickers make you quicker. It's fact. It's fact. I'm just using the evidence that is in front of us. It's a fact. Ooh, Yuki Tsunoda on the radio. Tell Liam when he's giving me a toe, when he's doing me a favor, do it better. That's what Yuki Tsunoda has said over the radio. Wow. Liam Lawson getting some tips from Yuki Tsunoda on how to give a better toe before they come back out for their second run. Charles Leclerc is the first man out on... Oh, no, sorry, Max Verstappen. I completely missed. Verstappen has come out on track first of anybody again. Charles Leclerc, second man out on track. Sergio Perez joins them, and now the rush as the cars come back out for one more run before the end of Q2. Yuki Tsunoda comes out on track. Here comes the Alpine. Carlos Sainz between the two Alpines as well. Put a Toyota sticker on the clock at work. Love that. Liam starting the race in Singapore. Yeah, 60 place penalty. I mean, he is replacing literally every single part of the engine and power unit. So, kind of makes sense. Pick up penalties for each one that you replace, and they're just replacing the whole thing. So they're like, yep, okay. Here is a 60 place penalty. So Norris just making his way onto the grid. No, Norris looking like he is not going to come out. Sorry, that is Piastri making his way out on track. The two Aston Martins waiting at the end of the pit lane as well. So Charles Leclerc is going to come across the line soon. Max Verstappen, first sector. 24.9 from Verstappen. Just makes his way past Carlos Sainz going around turn 11. Charles Leclerc is just about to start his flying lap. On board with him as he comes up towards turn 1. Hits that apex. Turn 1 in Austin is so awkward, isn't it? It's uphill. You can't really see where the corner is until you arrive at it. So you have to brake just and hope that you've braked at the right time more than being able to judge it. Charles Leclerc, though, a good first sector. At least a 10th quicker than Yuki Tsunoda in 10th spot. Charles Leclerc trying to get himself out of that bottom 5. Ocon, Alonso, Stroll, and Leclerc, the 4 drivers that need to improve. Lando Norris, the only driver not to come back out again. Verstappen, though, does go quicker than Norris and goes to the top of the timing sheets. So Verstappen, job done for him, it would seem. A 132.5. Everybody else out on track and still going. Charles Leclerc is going to be the first man across the start-finish line to set a fresh lap time, though. He's the man we've got our eye on. Charles Leclerc, good through the middle sector as well. Improved. Needs to improve pretty substantially. Sergio Perez through the middle sector as a couple attempts off of his teammate. Needs a solid final sector. The Sergio Perez, he's all the way down in 7th right now. Nico Hülkenberg just starts his flying lap as Leclerc finishes his. And it's Leclerc at 132.9. Leclerc third fastest overall, and that should be good enough. Sergio Perez round the final corner. Mexican driver looking to improve. And does. Goes 4th fastest with a 133 dead. Pierre Gasly, an improved middle sector from the Alpine. A couple attempts off Max Verstappen through the middle sector. Yeah, Gasly looking to find a real burst of speed here in qualifying in Austin. And put that Alpine through to Q3, which I don't think many would have been expecting. Yuki Tsunoda comes across the line 9th fastest. That might not be good enough for Yuki Tsunoda. Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Ocon all out there. Alonso and Stroll too. Pierre Gasly improves but stays 7th fastest. So Gasly is going to be on the bubble. Carlos Sainz comes across the line, moves up to second fastest. George Russell decides to come into the pits, so isn't going to improve on his lap time. Hulkenberg, Magnussen, and Ocon improving. Ocon coming across the line, improves, but only goes 11 fastest, Esteban Ocon. So his Alpine is going to be out of qualifying in Q2. Here comes Nico Hulkenberg, who is right on the bubble. It's a poor middle sector from Hulkenberg as well. He doesn't improve and goes, hits the checkered flag, and it's 10th fastest for Hulkenberg. We might not see Hulkenberg through, especially if Kevin Magnussen has anything to do with it, and he does! Kevin Magnussen drops his teammate out of Q3. And it's Kevin Magnussen, the Haas, that is through to Q3 as it stands. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, the two drivers in the bottom 5, they're yet to have set a fresh lap time. Fernando Alonso, though, struggled through the first sector, better through the middle sector. It's a 1:33.5 from Yuki Tsunoda that Fernando Alonso needs to beat to drop the RB car out of qualifying. Comes around the final corner and does it. Fernando Alonso up into 9th. That drops Yuki Tsunoda out of qualifying. Here comes Lance Stroll then. Can Lance Stroll ruin Haas's afternoon after a double points finish in the sprint for Haas? Is it going to be dropping out of Q2? No, Lance Stroll, not good enough. Stays 14th fastest and joins the bottom 5 drivers. It's Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hulkenberg, the two that we expect. You know, if you're going to put your money on some of those rear-end drivers, back-of-the-pack drivers, better terminology. If you're going to put your money on one of those back-of-the-pack drivers making it through to Q3, I would say Yuki Tsunoda and Nico Hulkenberg, you'd probably put your money on more often than not. But Hulkenberg not happy at all. Tsunoda and Hulkenberg 11th and 12th. Ocon 13th. Lance Stroll 14th. Liam Lawson 15th place. Of course, Liam Lawson is going to drop all the way to the back of the pack. So Alex Albon is going to inherit 15th place. Colapinto, Bottas, Hamilton, Joe also move up 1 place apiece. And here it is from Hulkenberg. Oh, it was over before it started. He lost 4 attempts through the first corner. That's so frustrating, isn't it? When you mess up the first corner, you're just chasing lap time the whole way around, but you know you've already kind of thrown away your opportunity. Very, very frustrating for Nico Hulkenberg, that one. But Kevin Magnussen, the man into the point scoring places again this weekend, already got a couple of points to his name. Can he add to that in the Grand Prix? He's going to start in the points tomorrow. It's Verstappen, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Perez, Piastri, Russell, Gasly, Alonso, and Magnussen are 10 drivers that are going to battle it out for pole position here in Austin. Just to run you through it again, Yuki Tsunoda drops out in 11th place, Nico Hulkenberg in 12th, Esteban Ocon 13th, Lance Stroll 14th place, Liam Lawson is 15th fastest overall, but is going to drop to the back of the pack, meaning that Alex Albon will start in 15th place, Colapinto 16th place, then Bottas will start in 17th place, Lewis Hamilton will start in 18th place, and Zhou Guanyu will start 19th tomorrow as it stands. I think Lewis Hamilton, though, is the biggest margin, or the biggest surprise there in that bottom 10. Maybe Alex Albon, Colapinto a little bit frustrated in the Williams as well, considering where the car has been since the summer break. Nico Hulkenberg definitely frustrated to be outdone by Kevin Magnussen. Hasn't happened much this season. And it's all done and dusted. Stroll will be world champion with a Honda sticker on my car. Ooh. I mean, the Honda sticker is coming indeed. A couple of seasons' time for Aston Martin. We'll have that Honda engine deal for the green cars. But Kevin Magnussen doing bits with the Toyota sticker on the car this weekend. Fernando Alonso also joining in. And Pierre Gasly. Those 3 drivers from the midfield teams into the top 10. Lewis Hamilton opening up an opportunity for Pierre Gasly to kind of join the pack. He hasn't been in Q3 very much as Pierre Gasly, but really has found some form here in Austin qualifying. Absolutely flying Pierre Gasly during these qualifying sessions. Been right up there. And then we have our top 7 drivers. Again, missing Lewis Hamilton, but as you'd expect, the big 4 teams in there. George Russell, the slowest of them. The Mercedes car looking not that comfortable after being fairly swift in SQ3 yesterday. Not looking very happy in the race at all, and looking even worse now in qualifying. But Oscar Piastri was 6th fastest, Sergio Perez 5th, Charles Leclerc 4th, Lando Norris 3rd, Carlos Sainz 2nd, and Max Verstappen, the quickest car out on track in his new look Red Bull car. Let's see if that will be the case come Q3. Oh, Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton saying, you know how he was talking about that clicking at the front right tire during the sprint race? Supposedly there was actually something wrong with the suspension, and the suspension, they changed it, and it's now made the car's balance even worse. So that's where Lewis Hamilton just had absolutely no grip, no understanding of where the car was going to be from corner to corner. And that change for Lewis Hamilton between the sprint race and now, after that kind of clicking in the front right tire and the suspension change that they had to make, obviously has just completely ruined any pace that they also had. So Hamilton starts 19th. Would it kind of makes sense for them to maybe take the engine penalties and bits and pieces, a bit like Liam Lawson is going to start from the back of the pack. Maybe start Hamilton from the pit lane and just take the penalties for the engine and various bits and pieces now. Usually the usually the front running teams take the penalty around Brazil. I remember a few seasons ago, 2021, Lewis Hamilton took those penalties in Brazil, started from 20th. So normally it is Brazil where they take the penalties, but clearly this opportunity, if you're 19 fastest on the grid anyway, it's going to jump up to 18th, of course, but maybe a time for the Mercedes team to just take those engine penalties for Lewis Hamilton, start from the pit lane. Gasly time travel to 2021. Yeah, Gasly, it's been, I don't know, actually. Gasly was pretty good towards the end of last season. Gasly was definitely looked quicker in the older style cars, as you're saying. Kind of 2021 Gasly was right up there, but maybe that was just because the AlphaTauri in 2022 wasn't that great, and then the Alpine, since he's been there, has been pretty dog awful. Gasly in there nonetheless. Blue helmet and orange car. 12 minutes on the clock, and the green light goes out. Here we are then, we're underway for the final qualifying session of the Austin Grand Prix weekend. We've done sprint qualifying. We've worked our way through Q1 and Q2. We've lost 10 drivers along the way. Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Stroll, Lawson, Albon, Colapinto, Bottas, Hamilton, and Zhou are not going to be taking part. But now we get to see the creme de la creme, the best of the best, out there for two probably flying laps to see where they will end up for tomorrow's Grand Prix start. Kevin Magnussen, the first man out on track in the Haas. George Russell follows him. Lando Norris and Piastri also come out 3rd and 4th. Carlos Sainz is going to be the 5th man across the start-finish line with his teammate Charles Leclerc behind him. So just keeping track of the order that these cars are going to come through and set their lap times. Yeah, Gasly coming out behind his good friend Charles Leclerc. Looks like Verstappen and Perez are going to drop towards the back of the pack now after setting the precedent. Max Verstappen in the first couple of qualifying sessions that we've had, deciding to lean back a little bit, let everybody else have a little go first, then come out and probably pop it at the top of the timing sheets. There is Verstappen, Perez, and Alonso we're waiting for. Here comes Verstappen. And Perez is going to come out before Alonso. So Alonso is going to be the final man across the start-finish line. That is if Fernando Alonso comes out at all. I can't see the green Aston Martin moving whatsoever. So maybe Fernando Alonso just going to go for the one flying lap a little bit later on when the track is completely clear. But it is going to be that order. Kevin Magnussen, George Russell, Lando Norris going very slowly. I'll just... because George Russell got in the way. Trust the car. Don't overload combined. Piastri in fourth. Sainz, then Leclerc, Gasly, Verstappen, and Sergio Perez then is going to be the final man across the start-finish line to set these first lap times here in Austin. Lando Norris just starting his flying lap. Kevin Magnussen making his way through turn 6. Let's have a little look at Magnussen's first sector time. It's a 25.3 from the Haas car. Let's see how that stretches out compared to the rest of the field. George Russell just coming through the first sector as well. 25.25, so only 0.05 of a second quicker than Kevin Magnussen is George Russell, but obviously purple through that first sector. See if Lando Norris can do better. Much better indeed. A 24.9 from Lando Norris through the first sector. Will Piastri be able to outdo his teammate? No, it's a 25.2 from Oscar Piastri, actually slightly slower than George Russell. Again, marginal. 25 dead from Carlos Sainz as he comes through the first sector. So Lando Norris still looking quickest of anybody so far. Charles Leclerc comes across the line at 25.2. So Lando Norris still holding on to the first sector fastest time. Kevin Magnussen through the middle sector, 37.4. George Russell at 37 dead. So it's looking like Kevin Magnussen is not going to be on the top of the timing sheets for long. He's going to come around the final corner though and set the first lap time at a 1:33.4. Kevin Magnussen goes to the top of the timing sheets and is going to be displaced fairly swiftly by George Russell. He comes around turn 20 and puts the lap time at a 1:32.9. Here comes Lando Norris then. Norris was quickest in the first sector until Verstappen came through it. Quickest through the middle sector and the final sector, Lando Norris, a 1:32.3 from the McLaren car. 6 tenths quicker than George Russell. Here comes Oscar Piastri. He's 6 tenths off of his teammate, but just marginally quicker than George Russell. Carlos Sainz only goes second fastest in the Ferrari. On a fresh set of tyres as well, Carlos Sainz. Not a scrubbed set. Leclerc, 4 tenths slower. Expecting maybe a little bit more from Charles Leclerc there. 32.7 from the Monegasque. Here comes Max Verstappen then. Verstappen purple through the first sector. 36.9 through the second sector. So not purple at the moment. Gasly goes quicker than Magnussen to go 6th fastest. But all eyes now on Max Verstappen as he makes his way around turn 20 and crosses the start-finish line to go 2nd fastest. Verstappen is 0.03 off of Lando Norris. Lando Norris has indeed trusted the car. And the car looks like, it is the fastest there. Sergio Perez, 8th fastest behind Pierre Gasly. Not what you want from Sergio Perez at all. George Russell, I don't know what we're missing compared to yesterday. Really not enjoying driving that Mercedes car at the moment. Lando Norris on board with him. Was there a little mistake from Lando Norris? Just got a little bit out of shape through turn 19, but kept the tyres on the track. That's the main thing. And absolutely just... Oh, it was close. Marginal there from Lando Norris, but kind of gambles that you have to take to be 0.03 of a second faster than your championship rival. Everybody making their way back to the pit lane then. Lando Norris coming into the pits. Piastri into the pits as well. We're going to get all the drivers back into the garages. Some fresh tyres onto the cars. And we'll have one more run at it. So as it stands, Lando Norris is on provisional pole position. His championship rival, though, Max Verstappen, breathing down his neck as ever in second spot. Carlos Sainz is the third fastest man out on track right now. Charles Leclerc, his teammate, just behind him, fourth. Piastri, fifth fastest. George Russell, sixth fastest, but really unhappy with his Mercedes car. We've then got Gasly as your best of the rest driver. He's seventh fastest and a good few tenths ahead of Kevin Magnussen as well, considering they were both on scrubbed sets of softs. Kevin Magnussen, eighth fastest. Sergio Perez, ninth fastest. And Fernando Alonso did not set a lap time. So Sergio Perez continuing the Constructors Championship. Not going well at all. Alonso carrying a tractor into Q3. Alonso has just been stunning this heat. Like, if you look at the championship standings, the fact that Fernando Alonso is in a championship all by himself is kind of all of the news that you need, really, as to how good he has been in that Aston Martin car, and he's got everything he can out of it for the majority of the season. It's just that is all that the Aston Martin has really got to offer, is a ninth place in the championship. Fernando Alonso, though, the sole man out on track, I said, making that gamble to just go once, but has all the track to himself. Entirety of the Austin Grand Prix circuit. And everybody has to watch Fernando Alonso as he comes towards the end of the second sector, down towards turn 12. Of course, the overtaking opportunity that many go for. Fernando Alonso comes through the middle sector, 7 tenths off the pace of Lando Norris. So only good enough right now to put himself just behind Pierre Gasly. Going to be a swift final sector if Fernando Alonso is going to put himself ahead of the Frenchman. Russell, Gasly and Magnussen making their way out of the pits as we stand. Fernando Alonso, though, is going to finish his one and only flying lap of Q3. And he goes 8th fastest. As I said, just behind Pierre Gasly. Looked like where he was at. Dropped a couple of attempts in the final sector as well compared to the Frenchman. So Alonso, 8th fastest. Sergio Perez, here was where he got it wrong. Where was it? Turn 9. Oh, hit the curb. Ooh, marginal. Hit the curb at turn 8. Just bounced the car a little bit. And yeah, both tyres do cross the white line. So that is Sergio Perez. That's where it went wrong for his lap time and why it was deleted. Let's have a little look then. Russell is going to lead us off in these final laps in Q3 then. Still to play for. Lando Norris on provisional pole. Verstappen second fastest right now. Here's what. Ooh. Yeah, Gasly was released. And that feels like a definite unsafe release for Pierre Gasly there. Nearly smashed into the side of Max Verstappen as he left the garage. I think the team will probably get a fine for that, if I'm honest. And George Russell is the first man, as I said before, to get us underway. It's going to be Russell, Magnussen, Gasly. Verstappen is fourth in the queue. Norris then just behind Verstappen. So we're going to get to see that pole battle play out fairly swiftly. Sainz, Leclerc, Piastri and Perez are going to be towards the back end of this run. Sergio Perez looking like the man who's going to come across the line last of anyone, although he is catching the back of Oscar Piastri, so maybe it slots in front of the Australian. Here comes Max Verstappen then across the start-finish line. Keep your eye. George Russell at 25 dead through the first sector. 25.1 from Kevin Magnussen. So Magnussen improving, but needs to improve even more if he's going to get ahead of Pierre Gasly. Gasly comes through that first sector, 25.2, so he's a little bit swift. A little bit quicker, sorry. Verstappen, first sector, purple. Exactly what the Dutchman would want to see on his telemetry as he comes through turn 9 and up towards turn 11. Max Verstappen quickest so far through the first sector. Lando Norris following him through it is slower than he was before. He's lost 0.05 of a second compared to where he was on his last flying lap. And is 0.2 slower than Max Verstappen. Oh! And it's George Russell in the barriers. That's going to end qualifying for everybody by the looks of it. George Russell has lost it through turn 19. George Russell's in the barriers. And that is going to slow everybody down. And medical car's been deployed. So Verstappen's going to have to go slowly past the incident. And that is going to ruin the end of qualifying 3. Unfortunately, nobody is going to be able to improve on their lap times. Verstappen going very, very slow. It's going to see Lando Norris take pole position then, even though Max Verstappen was going very quick and was actually a couple attempts up on Lando Norris in that final lap, looking at Sector 1 and Sector 2, sorry. But all of the cars then funnel their way back into the pit lane, knowing that they're not going to improve on their lap times. It is pole position for Lando Norris. Lando Norris will start the Austin Grand Prix in first spot, but Max Verstappen, Lando Norris just can't catch a break, can he? Every time he gets a pole position, every time he starts towards the front end of the grid, Max Verstappen is right there beside him. But 7 pole positions now for Lando Norris in Formula 1. Verstappen slots into second place. Carlos Sainz will start in third place and on for a podium scoring position. Although, if Carlos Sainz can do what he did in the sprint, maybe looking at a victory for the Ferrari team. He was very, very quick in the sprint earlier on today. Charles Leclerc was 4th fastest then and will start beside his teammate on the second row for Ferrari. Piastri 5th fastest. Russell, once he gets his car out of the barriers, should start 6th tomorrow as long as there aren't too many parts that need replacing on that car. Gasly in 7th spot. Fernando Alonso will start 8th. Kevin Magnussen will start 9th. Sergio Perez never got to set a lap time in Q3. He'll start 10th fastest tomorrow. Tsunoda, Hulkenberg in 11th and 12th place. Ocon 13th. Stroll in 14th. Liam Lawson will drop all the way to the back of the pack, meaning Albon will start in 15th. Colapinto will start in 16th. Valtteri Bottas 17th. Lewis Hamilton 18th. Zhou Guanyu in 19th place. It was a big, big lock from George Russell, though. Completely lost the rear end of that Mercedes car. And once you're onto the gravel, you are headed swiftly into the barriers. Does look okay, though. He's hopped out of the car, made his way over to the medical car as well. And is just making, getting himself into the medical car and looks okay. Liam Lawson, yeah, he's there. Not bad, not bad. 15. Well, I mean, we didn't actually get to see him qualify properly because he's taken an engine penalty anyway. So as soon as he got through to Q2, it was kind of like tick, done, and then fall backwards from there. Toyota Powers overcome Perez. Yeah, Perez went wide because he saw a Toyota sticker and he just lost control of the car. Anyway, I think I've lost it because it is past midnight here for me in the UK. I've been up for a very, very long time. And I am going to disappear off to bed and see you guys tomorrow for the Austin Grand Prix. I think it's going to be really, really fun. If the sprint is anything to go by, which was probably one of the best races we've seen this season, and it was only 19 laps, the race tomorrow should be an absolute banger. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss the live stream with me tomorrow. Make sure you've hit the like on this stream. It massively helps us out. And if you're in a time zone where you're not going to bed right now, maybe click a link in the description as well. I made a video where I simulated the season 100 times. I made a video where I was talking about the fact that Red Bull probably will come back after this break. And look how they have. So I've sort of described that and gone through it in a little bit more detail in the second link in the description as well. Or just any of those links, hit any of them. Brilliant videos from me, if I do say so myself. a little bit too much to say. Anyway, goodbye. I've lost my mind. So goodbye. See you soon. Enjoy. Do something nice.